Everyone who lives in Charlottesville knows it's expensive.
Yeah, and a University of Virginia student found a way around shelling out thousands of dollars a year to live near grounds. NBC 29's Matt Talhelm's here to show us.
Yeah, you know, the median rent in Charlottesville is a little more than $1,600 a month. Liam Flaherty knew that was way too much for him. He is the sixth of 9 children in his family, so college costs are up to him. That's why he went looking for an alternative way to live in Charlottesville, virtually for free.
Making college feel like home is never easy at the start, especially when you move hundreds of miles away from your hometown.
I didn't know a lot of people. There's one other guy from my high school that's here.
Liam Flaherty arrived on grounds at the University of Virginia from Rhode Island as a first year living in the dorms.
When I first got here, it seemed like a really big place.
Many of the classmates he'd just met were already signing leases for where they would live next school year.
I was sort of in a pinch on my housing. I was going to be paying a bunch of money to be living far away from where all my friends were living, and so I figured it was time for a more creative solution.
That search for a solution led him to an online ad, and soon enough, Flaherty found himself with the keys to his new home.
It turned out all right.
Flaherty bought this 1999 Ford Econoline van for $700.
And when I came driving it back into town, it was obviously in pretty rough shape, so people had their doubts.
He enlisted the help.
All right, we're finishing up day 2 tonight.
Of fellow first-year Madeline Fons.
He actually came up to me in the dining hall and he was like, "Maddie, I have a housing plan." And I was like, "What is it?" And he's like, "I'm gonna live in a van." And I was like,
The friends spent 2 weeks over summer break.
We just came out and started on this center console piece.
Working from early morning till late night to renovate the van into a place to live.
All right, day 3, about 10 p.m. And we finally got some lights going.
There were some things that we were going to try to do that we realized halfway through they were not going to work, and we didn't have the engineering skills required to pull it off.
Over here, we are working on the bed frame, kind of screwing some parts of it in, getting some beams going across, supported by these.
I could see it from the beginning. I actually didn't think it was gonna turn out this nice.
Flaherty parks his home outside his fraternity house.
Most of the space in the van is dedicated to just shelving all my clothes. We've got some extra space up here that we took advantage of.
The van is fully wired with halogen lights plugged into the fraternity's power. Heating and air conditioning units slide into a perfectly fit cubby.
We tried to make use of all of the space that we had in the van since it's such a small space.
And Wi-Fi access turns this 20-year-old van into a smart home on wheels.
This is actually one of my favorite features of the van. Alexa, play Spotify.
Flaherty's figured out the quirks that come with van life, like hunching over to move around and having to leave to use the restroom.
You start to get the details of it down, and you know, I know to bring my certain things with me in the morning, and I've gotten used to it at this point, so it's really doable. Josh, you see this thing?
The van's become a hangout destination for Flaherty's friends.
Liam will text me and he'll be like, "We're van chilling, come by." Partridge!
How you doing, man?
Flaherty's gotten so used to the van, he turned down an offer to move into a room in his fraternity.
I was actually pretty concerned about what people were going to think of the fact that I was living in a van at first, but I quickly got over that. I found that a lot of people thought it was pretty cool, and I became pretty proud of it myself.
This alternative living has also taught Flaherty that all it takes is a little ingenuity.
Kind of worked out that way.
That works, yeah.
Oh, okay.
To turn any house into a home.
I would encourage people to think outside the box, whether it's doing something like this or just approaching the problem from a different angle.
Flaherty plans to drive his home cross-country for a summer job in San Francisco, which of course has the most expensive rent in the entire country. You can follow his journey on Instagram at The Big Van on Campus. And as for next school year, Flaherty earned one of those prestigious rooms on the UVA lawn. So the van goes to someone else.
Moving up.
There.
Moving up. All right, so how has UVA responded to this, number one? And number two is, what does the university do to make sure that students have housing?
Well, of course, you know, this is one student's choice. This was what worked for him as a way to save money. You know, he's not doing it out of complete necessity, but as a way to save money. 6 of 9 children.
Yeah.
Has to pay for college.
College is expensive.
Of course, it's very expensive. But when you look at the numbers, about 70% of UVA student body lives off grounds. 6,800 students lived on grounds this past school year. That is only about 30% of the student population. And the university says to this point, it has been able to accommodate all first and second year students who are required to or choose to live on grounds. And even that housing, of course, costs a lot. Undergraduates spend about $6,500 or roughly $800 a month for the 8-month school year. Now, for students whose financial situations change or maybe need that extra assistance, the university says it does work with those students to determine what additional support it can offer them to help the student stay focused on their academics and then to try to ease some of their financial worries. The university says it's also working to do a lot of renovations and also expand those on-ground housing options for more students in the future, so that if van life isn't your choice or doesn't work for you, that there can be some ways to make it a little bit more affordable and accessible.
I don't know, though. You don't have to worry about roommates. You know?
That is one thing you said. It's great.
And I remember fraternity housing from, years ago, and that van didn't look so bad.
Yeah, I think I would much rather live in the van than, some of the loud and dirty fraternity houses you see.
He might be onto something.
Maybe, yeah.
All right. Thanks,
Thank
Matt.
you.
Well, Albemarle County's Planning Commission meeting is getting underway, where tonight the public sound